Hello everyone and welcome to something a little bit different. This is the Hokkaido Championship with a final match of Green Zoro versus Red Zoro. And I often don't do types of tournament breakdowns, but I'm very personally excited about the Green Zoro deck in OP12. So seeing a Zoro versus Zoro match was really interesting because there might be some interesting plays with the interactions from the leaderability with this. And I thought it'd be a nice opportunity to try to approach things with the newer player's perspective in mind. I often try to make my content very new player friendly, right? So explaining a big tournament in very simple terms and over detailed explanations is what I'm going to try to do with this video. I'm not going to go over the entire series of the championship stream on this. I'll have the stream linked in the description if you guys want to go through any of the individual matches yourself, but I'll be trying to break down some plays and strategies and cards and everything very simplistically and overly explaining some things, so that if you're a bit newer, you might be able to understand some of this tournament stuff. If you're trying to learn from these big tournaments, right? Watching some people at top cut tables and at these bigger tournaments can give you some insight onto plays and things that maybe you're not thinking about. So without further ado, I'm just going to get right into this. And for this video, no webcam, but don't be distracting, as you know, a typical caster would. Not saying that I'm a professional caster or anything, but again, just want to go over in detail some of this. I'll be putting pictures of the translated cards up on the screen because, again, although we have Red Zoro and a lot of people might be very familiar with cards from that, I know Green Zoro isn't even on the sim yet, so I'll be putting up the translated versions as we talk about it, so you guys can follow along if you're not familiar with some of these new cards. So if you're unfamiliar with the Green Zoro leader, he is Don ×3, activating once per turn if this leader has battled your opponent's characters. During this turn, set this leader as active, then this card cannot attack characters with an original cost of 7 or less during this turn. Could be a very interesting interaction with Red Zoro, being that he plays out a lot of bodies very quickly. However, being that you can only attack characters that are very big bodies, right? You can't attack anything with a cost of 7 or lower, means that you most likely won't be able to battle Zoro's little bodies, being that most of them are 3 costs or lower, or even 5 costs or lower, nothing above that original 7 cost. So it does lend a little bit of an advantage in that you can get rid of a smaller body while still pressuring your opponent's life, which typically Red Zoro benefits from you having to deal with his board, so you're not able to touch his life as much. And thusly, the deck can run possibly some less 2K counters, less counter in general, and just focus on going extremely wide very early so that you have to kind of respond to his board presence. However, like I said, this Green Zoro can answer that a little bit by getting rid of one body a turn, by swinging into it, and then still swinging with this leader into the Red Zoro's leader, causing a little bit of pressure. And of course, the Red Zoro leader is just a Don ×1. All of your characters get plus 1000 power, which is why they're able to play out so many little bodies, 3 costs or less, and still connect some 5k swings to your opponent's leader. Very classic aggro. The benefit is that the Green Zoro obviously can only swing into one of your bodies per turn. So if you're playing out 2 bodies, cheating out a body off of 1 body, which is very common, you can gain board advantage very quickly, as a lot of Green Zoro's swinging bodies are 5 cost or higher, so it might be a little bit of an extra turn before the Zoro is able to establish board to kind of answer the Red Zoro's board. Let's skip ahead to the start of this. Taking a look at the Zoro's hand, we have the Perona, Tashigi 2k counter, the 2 cost blocker, but also protects your 5 cost or lower slash cards, and a counter event. So that promo on the right is a 2k counter, 4 cost on play, KO one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 2 or less. I think this probably will get replaced for us over here in the West with a starter deck 2k counter, but nevertheless it is a 2k counter. Perona is a 1 cost searcher on play. If your leader has slash attribute, you can look at the top 5. Searches for a slash card or a green event. We have the 2 cost Koshiro. If your 5 cost or lower slash attribute character other than this character would be KO'd by an opponent's effect. You may instead rest his character. He's also just a 2-cost blocker, which is probably more applicable in this kind of a matchup. We have the Tashigi 2K counter, which has a very similar effect. If one of your other green characters other than Tashigi will be moved by your opponent's effect, you may instead just rest Tashigi. So we're starting off with a couple of 2Ks. And of course, we have the Paradise Waterfall counter event. 1 Dawn counter, one of your leader or characters gains plus 2,000 power during this battle, then set up to one of your characters as active. So that is a nice counter event. Can also restand some of your blockers, right? The 8-cost Mihawk, for example, which we don't have in hand, but can be found with the Perona, is a 8-cost blocker. So nice way to restand a blocker if you have swung with him the turn prior. But yeah, very defensive hand from Zoro over here, having some 2K counters, a counter event, and a blocker. But that Perona does let you find pretty much anything in the deck, picking up some slash attributes and also any green event. There are some really good green events that Zoro got. He got a lot of decent support off the bat with set 12, which has lent him to be a pretty meta leader. Let's see what the... Ooh, okay, so the Red Zoro player having a 2K counter Sanji. It looks like a Hiking Bear 2K counter, 2 of the Chopper EBO1 blockers, and the Kureha Searcher to pick up other Chopper cards. So pretty okay hand. I mean, very, very defensive on both sides, I'd say. A lot of 2K counters, some blockers, and a Searcher. So very similar hands, actually, coming in from both sides. Having some blockers, some 2Ks, and a way to find more of their consistency pieces with that Searcher already in hand. So it looks like we have the Green Zoro going here first, searching with the Perona. And we'll see what he ends up picking up. It looks like he has... a Perona, 2 events, another Promo Zoro, and the Tashigi, the 5-cost Tashigi, which he does end up picking. It's a 5/7 on play. Rest one of your opponent's characters with the original cost of 6 or less, then give it 3 rested Dawn cards to your Zoro. So basically, a way that you can swing into whatever your opponent just played out to get rid of it, and then also be able to swing at your opponent's leader. Pretty decent to be able to just get rid of any 3-cost Chopper, primarily the Searcher Chopper, if he finds it. But he ends up picking up the 3-cost Chopper that is allowed to cheat out a power 3,000 or less animal card. So another way to go pretty wide, pretty fast. Leaving a Dawn open. Always worried about swinging into a Red Zoro player with the Dawn open, as it could be Shut Up and Come With Us, the counter event that lets you search out for the 3-cost or less animal card. Looking at the Zoro's hand. So the Zoro did draw into that 3-cost, which is a 2K counter on play. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less, then KO one of your opponent's rested characters with an original cost of 1 or less. Could be pretty applicable here, getting rid of a Searcher, which oftentimes can connect a swing into your opponents with the boost from a Makino and Zoro's leader ability. Let's see what the Green Zoro chooses to do with their 3 Dawn. They could play out that 2K to get rid of the Kureha. We could see a swing 6K, play out that 2-cost blocker to add a little bit of defense. Just going 5K. So could be playing out that 2K counter, seeing just a counter with the blocker Chopper from EBO1 to get 1K counter to get out of that swing. So no counter event, obviously, but now the Green Zoro player knows that, right? Ends up just playing out the 2-cost blocker. Providing him a little bit of defense. The Green Zoro player obviously has a lot of 5 costs and higher to swing with, while the red player obviously has a lot of lower cost bodies. So Surviving until a little bit of a later game could be good for the Green Zoro player if he's able to respond to the board properly. So we just see a 6k swing, counter out with that Tashigi, and to the chopper that cheats out a 3k power or less to play off the hiking bear, which Don ×1 gives one of your animal cards other than this card plus 1000 power for the turn, meaning that chopper can swing a little bit higher. We'll see, as there are, like I said, a lot of ways with that Tashigi to respond to at least one character on your opponent's board, and looks like he's going to get rid of that chopper. Here we see Zoro's lead ability coming into play, able to swing 8k into that 4k body, and then getting to restand himself to swing 8k at life, able to pressure one of your opponent's characters on board while pressuring your opponent's life at the same time. Does put the Red Zoro player on a clock. He knows that he has to play out as many bodies as possible per turn. Something like that 3-cost chopper that lets you search top 5 to play out a 4k power or less animal card is what the Zoro needs, right? He does have the ability on 6 Dawn to play out 4 bodies, as he does play out that chopper to search top 5. And playing out 4 bodies on a 6 Dawn turn is a little bit rough for something like a Green Zoro to respond to, right? Even though they are lower power units, your leader ability only allows you to swing into 1 per turn, but he does have the Tashigi now to respond to another unit, right? But he plays out the 3-4 chopper to play out a 3k power, but doesn't have one, so he just plays out the OP01 chopper, which is a blocker. Don ×2. When attacking, give one of your opponent's characters minus 3k power for the turn. So could be a great way for that chopper to help the Red Zoro player swing into something like the 8-cost Green Mihawk blocker, as he is an 8k power blocker. So making him from 8k power down to 5k would allow a lot of the Red Zoro's swings to kind of swing over that blocker. Let's take a look real quick at the Zoro player's hand again. So he has another one of the promo. He picked up the Hiyori Searcher, which is a new searcher, which is rest 1 Dawn and this character. If your leader is Rono or Zoro, look at the top 5 cards, reveal up to 1 / attribute card or a green event. So similar to the Perona, as it picks up either or the / or the event, but also resting yourself kind of acts as a pseudo blocker, right? A character that can rest itself each turn to search is something your opponent will have to swing into. So it kind of eats up an attack that would normally go for your life, which is very nice in this kind of a matchup where you're staring down a board that's already at 5 cards. It's nice that you can both replace the Hiyori with a new card and eat up an attack next turn. We'll see what he picks up here. Looks like he does have a Smoker, Cavendish. They shuffle their cards so quickly, but that's because they know what they're looking for, right? We see an event, 2k counter Tashigi, of course, and another one of the 2-cost blockers. Cavendish could be nice for this turn, but I don't believe he would have enough Dawn being on 7 to use leader ability, since he already used 2 Dawn for that searcher, right? The Hiyori uses up 1 Dawn to play herself and then 1 Dawn to search. Smoker could be very nice. Just another 5 costs to restand a Dawn to help you use leader ability. But again, with 2 Dawn down for the turn and only 5 Dawn left, the Cavendish playing itself back out would only get you back 2 active Dawn, so not enough Dawn to attach to leader to swing with. He does pick up the Smoker, which is interesting because it is obviously doesn't have any counter, but being a 5/7, really nice stat line, and it does have Banish. We'll see if the Zoro player goes for a leader ability swing here. Could get rid of that 3-4 chopper, but still does have Tashigi as well to swing into him. But since he is such a lower power character, you can get away with just swinging 5k and pressure out a 2k counter from your opponent's hand. And your opponent knows you still do have that Tashigi on board as well to swing into. So if they defend this first swing, they'll have to give up 2 more 2k counters if they have it. But that means that's another attack that's not going towards their life. So he's going for life, it seems, with this 7k. So saying, okay, I know you have that 3-4 chopper on the board. It will be able to swing 5k next turn. However, I have a blocker and a searcher that you're going to have to respond to. So that's 2 attacks that I can eat up. I also have counter events in my hand, so that 1 Dawn from Smoker is going to become quite valuable. And now with these kind of bigger stat line swings on board, being at 3 life could be quite detrimental. However, the Red Zoro player does still have a blocker on board. Although that OP01 blocker chopper can become a swing quite easily. He can quite as well just leave it up standing to block out an attack if he thinks he might be in danger of going for game. However, there are a lot of events and such to rest blockers for Zoro. Just goes with the Kureha with that plus 1000 power from leader into the Hiyori. So Kureha could have, you know, matched up to that 5k stat line, but would have maybe required some more Dawn for the turn. But just an easy swing into that searcher. Does seem like he's going to be going into that Tashigi with the chopper. Again, that minus 3000 power for the turn means that you're going to have to be defending a much lower stat line character for the entirety of all of these swings here. But he does use the counter event that goes +2 and then restands a character. So beautiful a way to defend from that, keeping the Tashigi alive. Uses the Hiking Bear effects to buff the 3-4 chopper. So that chopper all the way at the top is now a 6k power with the 1k from Hiking Bear and 1k from Zoro's leader. And now Hiking Bear going 5 at life. Green Zoro player countering out the Kuina, the 4 cost, it seems. Which honestly would be a pretty nice character to use for a matchup like this, resting a character and then attaching Dawn for your leader. We'll see what he picks up off of that Searcher Chopper, replacing the Kureha with another OP01 Blocker Chopper, which these are quite threatening against your board, even though you have those 7k stat line bodies. They very quickly become 4k stat line, which is very, very hard to defend, as we saw in this turn. Got out of it with that counter event, but can become quite hard to defend. We'll see if the Green Zoro player responds well with swing into them. Goes a 2k counter to get out of that 6k life. And again, this chopper was the one buffed up by Hiking Bear. So another 6k base, but attach Dawn and then go, ooh, pressuring life very hard here. We'll see how many bodies the Green Zoro player can get rid of, right? Having the 2 7k stat lines and the leader ability being able to swing at least 8k into one of them while also swinging into life could be some high attacks to get rid of the board here. He still does have the blocker up. Takes the life. And passes back. So Green Zoro down to 2 life is quite scary. especially against a board like this. So yeah, this Mihawk would be very nice, as it is a cost AK power blocker that also restands 4 Dons, so you're able to use leader ability or possibly play out another card. But here I think you really just need to respond to the board, as we don't have enough swings to kind of push through when you're at 3 life. Unless you had something like the 3 cost, similar to the I'm Invincible event for Zoro this turn. This is a 3 Don, set one of your Zoro characters, leaders as active, which would give us enough swings to get through, as he doesn't have any blockers up. He's going 7k at leader. So if he counters out here, that would... Interesting. So he does go 2 and 1. But he is eating up cards from that Red Zoro player's hand. So Tashigi going at one of the OP01 choppers, getting rid of it. And now Zoro, the leader, is able to swing 8k into one of these, and then also at life. But we'll see. He still, again, does have a blocker up. Okay, he's just going big into the Searcher Chopper to get rid of it, as if you leave that standing, it will just allow you to refill your board. Oh, he's attaching Don to Perona, clearing out more of the bodies, and then goes at life. Okay, getting him down to 2 life. So 2 life on both sides. Getting rid of both the OP01 choppers and the Searcher Chopper means that, one, it's a little bit harder for the Red Zoro player to refill his board, as that the set 8 Searcher Chopper is able to cheat out a body every time it swings. So Hiking Bear buffing the chopper, so that 3/4 chopper is now 6k power. We'll see, as the Green Zoro player still does have a blocker up. So does need another swing to go for game if he's planning to. So he's going to lead with Hiking Bear, countering out with Cavendish here to get out of that 5k swing. Just eating up cards, as neither player has a huge hand, it seems. Especially not for the Green Zoro player. Another benefit to that Searcher Chopper, the 3/5 that plays out a 4k power, is it's playing off a deck, so your hand size isn't really affected, especially once you get to start swinging with that chopper, which means it is a very big target for your opponent to get rid of. But we'll see. Now being at 2 life means that if he doesn't get rid of one of these 5/7s, he could be in danger of losing this next turn, the Red Zoro player. Of course, if you do end up taking these next 2 hits to life, you're always in danger of something unblockable coming at you. So countering out or possibly blocking out a little bit earlier could be a move, just so you don't risk having to deal with an unblockable at 0 life, whether or not it'll be this turn or the next turn, if this does go for another turn. We could also just see the blocker chopper coming out. However, like I said, there are a lot of ways for the Green Zoro player to rest characters. We'll see if he gets a good answer to that blocker with the next draw, or possibly anything from life. Oh, but he is going into the Smoker. Looks like that would be an 8k swing. Oh, no, a 9k swing. 9k swing. So looking for a 2k, 1k, or a block. And still having leader, right? But if you lose this body here, then you don't really have the answer to go for game, especially not if you have to deal with a blocker at the same time. Especially with Smoker being able to restand 1 Dawn per turn does give you a little bit more value with anything you play out. And that Banish swing, you know, denying your opponent counter from hand or from life. So he does 0 cost event to go to 10k with that Smoker, and then swings with leader, blocking out. So now down to 1 card in hand, no blocker. We'll see a Rush Zoro coming out, which is a 7k at the Smoker, and it does go. As that was a 6k swing with the Zoro leader ability and then that last Dawn. So that not only gets rid of the Smoker, but is a little bit of a tell for the Red Zoro player that, you know, we don't have a lot of counter left. We're pretty low on hand size, down to 2 cards. We do have the possibility for game here, as we still do have Perona to swing with if your opponent doesn't have a lot of counter in hand, even though it is just a 2k power stat line, you know, 3 Dawn commitment to be able to swing with her. It could be your answer for going for game unless you had something like the 3 cost restand event. But we have to think, can we also just clear these 3 bodies on board? That could be a possibility, because again, one of those swings from the Green Zoro side would be from leader, and after swinging at board can also pressure life down to 1, right, if that swing connects. It's not unfeasible approaching this from the Green Zoro player side, as that Hiking Bear is only 3k stat line, so we'll see. Okay, he's going lead with the Jishigi. Interesting. And does counter out. But now the Red Zoro player is down to very low hand size as well. I wonder if we could have just, and maybe should have just gone for board there to kind of guarantee game a little bit more, as that 7k stat line could have very easily gotten rid of the 4k power chopper or Hiking Bear. Obviously that 5k stat line on the Rush Zoro is the same counter as counter out from lead, but maybe your opponent is a little bit more likely to let those cards go rather than an attack on life, because they know you have the ability to restand leader. He seems picking up, setting 4 down aside. Picking them up. Okay. Okay, Perona looks like swing coming out. Just using every resource possible when we were so burnt out towards the end. Going to that chopper, connecting and getting rid of them. Okay, Tashigi coming out just to attach Dawn and establish another body. Going to the Zoro, clearing it, and then swinging 1 at life. So you still could be in a little bit of a safe spot. However, he does just have a Smoker in hand, so no counter from the Green Zoro player's side. So I wonder if he did connect that Tashigi swing into a character, would it have made the difference of trying to clear out the entire board, right? He could have not played out that 5 cost Tashigi to swing a little bit higher with the Tashigi or Perona already on board, just to try and clear everything out. Because from a rush card, you know, which we do see from the Red Zoro's hand, he could go for game unless... No, because, I mean, honestly, the math is there. We'll see he goes 6k with Hiking Bear, with the 2 attached Dawn and then 1k from lead. So he's going to have to take this first swing. If they're 2k counters, you can get out of an 8k.
Ooh, okay, so that is
a 1k Hiyori, so he can only get out of a 5k swing, which doesn't look like anything's going to be. Even if this is a 2k counter, he'd only be able to get out of a 7k swing. So we'll see. There is I don't think there's a possibility that the Red Zoro player doesn't have big enough of a swing. Even if he just goes 6K here, he'd still have to take... he does have the possibility, like they're showing, there is a counter event that goes plus 3,000. So if that's his last life, he could get it. He does have a Dawn open, so maybe he is bluffing that he has that, or hoping that he gets it out of life, right? So he's going... Oh, okay, yeah. And then separating that 2 Dawn, so that's going to be another 8K from Zoro. And then, oh my gosh, is the Red Zoro getting it? Yeah, doesn't have enough. So we got a 2K and a 1K. So that Zoro swing for 8 was just enough. If he did manage to get the 1 cost counter event for plus 3, he would have been able to get out of it, which is very unfortunate, right? Very sad. But we do see the Red Zoro winning. So interesting to see that it was the older Zoro, right? But man, a Zoro winner. It looks like the Red Zoro player doesn't have a second rush card anyway. So yeah, if he was able to possibly clear out this hiking bear, would have essentially put himself in an unlosable position for at least this turn here, where the Red Zoro player wouldn't have been able to go for game. And I mean, he was still been able to pressure the Red Zoro's life down to 1 with leader swing. It just depends. You're just not playing out the Tashigi. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of things go into the strategies and the sequencing and the plays at a very high end cut table, right? Just going for championships. You know, there's a lot of pressure being on stream and everything like that. So, and you never know what your opponents got in hands too, or in life, right? If the Green Zoro player had gotten another 2K as the first life instead of a 1K, would have been enough to get out of that 8K swing from the final Zoro. Yeah, very interesting to see. The OP12 format looks pretty cool, pretty interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Should I do more of these videos? Less of these videos? You know, I try to give it my best, but I'm no commentator. I just enjoy the game thoroughly and want newer players to be able to enjoy the more top end of the game as well. So hopefully if you are newer, let me know, was this clear with the explanations? Well and good. Let me know down in the comments. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you guys want to see more of this. I don't think I'll be going over any of the other matches from this tournament, but again, I'll have the stream linked in the description if you want to watch any of the other matches. I just want to go over this one because again, I'm pretty personally invested in this deck in Green Zoro. I've been a green player for a while, and Zoro is one of my favorite characters. I think a lot of people's as well. So I think we'll see a lot of play from this deck. Yeah, especially doing so well at a championship, you know. But yeah, either way, let me know what you think down in the comments of both OP12, the Zoro, my commentary, anything, and hope to see you all on the next one. Bye bye.